what's up? Welcome to Office Hours. If you're new here, my name is Gabby Starnes, and I'm so excited that you're with me. So Office Hours is really that place where we talk about marketing, what's working, what's not working, and really, I kind of let you in behind the scenes so that you can just know how to grow your business. So today we're talking about sales and how sales is a lot like dating. Buckle up, maybe get a notepad because we're diving in, okay? And I want to start off with what's working, and I'm going to tell you my sales strategy, let you in behind the curtain and tell you what's working for me, a marketing agency owner. And that, to be honest, if I could be honest with you, I'm giving you the skinny here. Being a marketing agency owner in our sales process has to be one of the hardest sales processes I've ever created because marketing offers and marketing services are expensive. And so that can be not an easy buy. It's like kind of buying a Ferrari. You don't walk onto that dealership and just say, I'm going to buy one today. No, you have thought about it. You have maybe looked them up on YouTube. If you're like my husband, he loves his luxury cars. He's watching videos on how, the Genesis is different than the BMW is different than, the Maserati over here, all of the things, right? So you have done your research. And so those high ticket offers, if you can hone in a sales strategy and system is huge, guys. You don't want to just be answering the phone calls and doing all the things all on your own manually. You want something to work for you. If you can do that, you can do anything. So I'm here to help you today. Let's talk about what's working. So I have something called my momentum map. The momentum map is basically my framework for when someone approaches me and they say, hey, Gabby, I don't have a clue on where to start with my marketing. I need leads. I need revenue. I totally get that. So that momentum map, which is linked below if you're watching, it will give you exactly where to start and it will be very detailed. But I want to bring that framework into this conversation, right? So when it comes to what's really working for people in terms of sales, they really do need to have, and this is why I exist, my company helps too, we exist, right? They have to have a good marketing strategy because here's the thing. And this is what I learned when I started building my own sales team here at Helps To, my own company, is you can have a killer sales team, great closers, people that are the best communicators, the most friendly, charismatic team you could ever have. But if they don't have prospects or like a list of leads, they're going to struggle because that is a very hard skill set to learn. And a lot of people, they don't walk into sales and even their 10th year in sales. Most people are not super connected in their industry yet. It takes years, like multiple decades for a lot of people to feel connected. Oh, I have a good connection for this project so that you can get another $2,000 a month or whatever. So what you need to do is build that prospect kind of like database or influx into your business. What that looks like, let's start there. And then we're going to talk about the sales process. Okay. Oftentimes for us, let me talk about us. What has worked is cold email outreach, automated. So you're not sending them manually. That has worked really, really well. I mean, the first time we deployed that and had that go, we made 80K in 3 months. It was wild. So it really works well. It really does. But here's the thing, and we have felt this personally, so you got to be really careful. You can burn down your domain and your authority online by not doing it well. Because the spam filters that Google and Microsoft, especially those two, have in place are so strong. So just be careful. Really, if you've never done it before, I really think you should seek out a professional. Do not use your own domain. So my company's website is helps2.com. Do not use that, please. People will have a hard time after a while if you get submitted to spam so many times. They won't even get your personal emails that are normal. So just be careful, please. Go get another domain, get a professional, all that. But another great thing is just clear ancient of old days visibility. What a lot of people think of when they think of marketing, social media, but doing it consistently. So getting on the platform that works for you. My momentum map will absolutely help you with that, right? But getting on the right platform for us at Helps To, that platform is LinkedIn, and we do really well on Instagram and YouTube. I love YouTube, guys. And if you're on YouTube, I love you. Please subscribe. So that, and then the next thing that I would really recommend, a lot of people, they go straight to ads. I love ads and they work. They really do, but they're expensive. So if you don't have a huge budget in order to get your prospects and some leads for your sales team to sell to, yeah, sure, you could run a small ad, but it's probably going to not be the best use of your money. But if you do have a bigger budget, I would highly consider ads. You could probably figure out how to run them on your own, but in order to optimize your money, you probably also need a great professional. And lastly, sometimes I just tell the sales team at Helps Too, our small but mighty one, just get out there and like start conversations with people. And that's what we're going to talk about today. A little bit of that and some other things we're doing. Okay. So that's really the beginning of the marketing. Now let's go over the bridge. It really is a bridge to the sales department and what they need to be doing, what works over there. So when I first jumped into sales, because I'm a business owner, right? I had to figure out, how do I sell? What do I say? And, so I want to take you through the framework of me. Once I get that lead, that prospect in the door, what do I actually talk about? How do I greet them? What do I say? How do I avoid the awkward pauses, etc.? Because that is the fundamental game when it comes to closing sales. So let's get started. Okay. I want to tell you what I do and how it's like dating. So when it comes to the prospecting side, right? And I need you to follow me on this and hear my heart, because dating is a tough process. But if you do it well, I actually call it vetting, you can be very successful. And a little context, I say sales is like dating because when I got challenged by my good old mom about how I'm so ambitious in every other area of life except for finding love, I was really kind of hit in the face with a brick, I feel like, because I always was that person, and this is horrible, please don't shoot me for this, that was like waiting for something to happen. And I think a lot of us business owners, we can be like that too. We're just waiting for a lead to come in, waiting for that next person to approach us. Works sometimes and sometimes doesn't. And then if you're really trying to scale your business, that will not get you there, will not get you to level 3. Okay. So, which is when things start flowing and you want to build aggressively. It's not going to get you there. So when it comes to vetting and sales, the same approach and energy really works well. And so when I was beginning to throw myself into the dating scene as, an adult in her later 20s, I really had to be intentional about it to get somewhere. In my mind, I had to make up, I have a goal. I'm not just floating around trying to have a good time. I would love to get married. Same thing with sales. I think you need to think about end goal is I definitely want these people to become customers, but like I need to pursue them as if like they're actually like we're on a journey. And I think sometimes in the dating realm, just like in the sales realm, we can go from A to Z. We skip the process of becoming someone's friend. We skip the process of getting to know them, asking the right questions, and inviting them over for coffee. Maybe don't do that in the dating realm, but like invite them out for coffee. You know what I mean? Just like getting to know them. So when I think about sales like dating, I want to focus on visibility first. You see where I'm going? I'm connecting. Okay. So visibility is being out there. That could be social media in the digital realm. So social media, like I said, we use LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube here at Helps Too, Momentum Map. Okay. If you need to find out where you need to be online digitally and consistently, that's going to be huge consistency. I liken visibility to the old fashioned dropping the hanky. If you don't know anything about that, let me put you on game real quick. Women, even back in the day, would throw their hankies when they saw a good looking dude that they were interested in. And the guy would be like, hey, you dropped your hanky. And that would start the conversation and that would make her visible. And you as a business owner need to figure out what is going to be the best way to drop your hanky. Like I said, digital social media is wonderful, but another way to drop your hanky is maybe looking up your local chamber and start networking. That's another way. Another way to drop your hanky, like I said, could be cold outreach, jumping in people's inboxes that are really highly tailored to your audience, right? And then ads, another way to drop your hanky. So making sure that you're dropping your hanky, that is going to be the biggest thing you can do to get ahead in sales in the beginning. Okay. Now I want to talk about networking. That's been one of the biggest things that a lot of people I talk to don't even consider. And it's been one of the biggest ways we sell here at Helps Too, my company, and just me as a person, a marketing strategist in the marketing realm. It's one of the biggest ways I connect with people. A lot of my friends, I've met them through marketing and then through people that I've met in marketing recommending me to them. And then, here we are, right? Like just we're all meeting each other. And there is a lot of people that really thrive with networking. So when people often think of networking and they're not doing it, they think, oh, well, that's just like disgusting. It's not, because if you do it often, you get good at it. And then you actually keep seeing the same people. And then you kind of like rock and roll for each other. Like you help each other out. So-and-so, Steve over here is referring you because he knows you and you guys met at this networking group last July. It happens so fast. And I have right here, networking is showing up to let the world know you're there. It's kind of like a speed dating event or an event that your friend's hosting. Listen, if you want to hide away in your closet, the likelihood of somebody approaching you for a date is going to be really slim to none, right? So, if that's what you want, then that's what you want. But if you want people to approach you and you want to be seen and you do want your husband or your wife one day, you get out there and you network. So that is that. And then also when you show up to the networking event, this is what really works, you guys. I went to one last week and I walked away with 4 leads, people that were like approaching me, asking to work with me. And here's why. I actually didn't want to go because I was exhausted. My 1-year-old was up late in the night, but I had signed up to go like 2 weeks ago. So I kind of prayed about it and I was like, I'm going to go. Okay. I'm just going to go. But my mentality is going to be no desperation because that's just not what we are anyways. But I'm going for the coffee and to see how I can support people. That was my motto, my motif going in. So I literally went for the coffee because I needed it. I was desperate. But I also, in every single conversation, I would ask, hey, what do you do? Tell me more. Oh, wow, that's really cool. How can I support you? That just makes people light up. You get so much information when you actually care, actually ask questions. And what's funny is a lot of people will end up walking away saying, wait, what do you do though? How can I support you? They kind of start selling themselves to you. And it's wonderful when you enter in with that energy. And it's the same with dating. The more I would show up on dates and during the vetting process, I would have that energy of like, hey, I think you're cool, but like, I'm not desperate for you to be my forever. That energy really made people almost pursue you. They're like, wait, she doesn't care if I work with her or not. It's the same in the sales realm. She doesn't really care for my business or not. Like she could care less. Well, actually, maybe she could actually help me because she doesn't have an agenda. It makes a big difference. All right. And then let's talk about cold outreach, what I talked about a little bit earlier. That's another tactic to get visible. And I want to liken that to you being on a dating app. Now, some people love dating apps, but most people that I talk to, so this is my own personal experience, they think of dating apps and they think that dating apps are cringy, that they are, really awkward and there's only not ugly, but like weirdos on there. And that's just not true. I met my husband on a dating app, on Facebook dating, actually. Shout out. If you want to sponsor me, I'm here for it. And I was very intentional about it. And just like you can be very intentional about cold email, it feels very cold at first, but if you treat it with intentionality and you have a plan, you can meet some great people on there. And I remember the first time I used cold email, I booked some of my best clients. One of my favorite clients ever, they came from cold email. I met their president on just like a cold email automation that we were running. And it was just like one of the best clients we ever had at my company. And I would never look back. In fact, we're deploying cold email next month again. So I'm so excited about it. It just really is so amazing. So don't sleep on that. Let's talk about, okay, you got the lead or you got a referral. Now they're in your court and you're like, I need to sell them. Let's talk about how you do it. So when you first hit the call with them, just be conversational, right? How's it going, Steve? What's up? It's nice to meet you. Like, tell me more about you and your business. And then once Steve gets to talking, most people, when they talk about themselves, we can't help this. We like to brag a little bit, right? And we're talking about how our business is the best it's ever been. And, our team is growing and our service offerings are like amazing and blah, 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 blah. Really wonderful. So this is how you turn the script. Because most people are like, okay, I don't know what to do from there. I would just introduce yourself, maybe say, hey, do you know about me? Like, I know you found me, but like, what do you know about me? So they kind of say, oh, this is how I found you. This is what I know about you. And then you say this is huge. This is a key that flips the whole script on its head. You say, that's really awesome, Steve. And I'm glad you found me, but everything sounds really amazing in your business. Why do you need to even be here right now talking to someone that does marketing? And then Steve is like, oh, well, I got to tell her, like, I got to stay on this call because I actually need help. And so I'm going to tell Gabby or whoever I'm talking to exactly my problem. It opens the door. It's like, hey, Steve, everything's going great for you. Why do you need me? It opens the door and he starts telling you his biggest problem, unless he's like really manipulative, which most people aren't. They're coming to you for help. They need your help. So he's going to tell you his problem and probably tell you pretty straight because that question is really provoking. And so once you kind of talk about that question or not talk about the question. He answers the question. Then you talk about that answer. When you're talking about that answer that Steve just gave you, his problem, his challenge, all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow. Okay. Like, well, tell me more. What have you, and this is my next follow-up. I do a follow-up question. I don't just get straight to like what we offer. Cause that is just like when you're on a date, do you do that? Like, okay, you know what I mean? Like take some time. If you have a 30-minute conversation, use it. Like get to know Steve and his business. All right, Steve, that is Yeah, I hear you on that problem. I've seen that before. That's just not easy. So what have you done to try to solve it? I want to know your history, Steve, because I don't want to offer you something that you've done before if it's not working. So Steve tells you his history, what they've done, what's working, what's not working, his biggest situation. On a lot of our sales calls, I hear, well, we've worked with a marketing company before, they didn't execute. Or we worked with someone before and it's just like they can't get past this point. Okay, cool. Now I'm getting even more detail I'm diagnosing in my mind. I'm learning about what they need, how I can help. And if we're really a good fit, that's really what a sales call is. It's not just you trying to take the sale. You want to know if this person's a good fit. And so you keep talking. And then eventually, when you feel like you've heard enough, I would ask at least 2 follow-up questions, at least 2, maybe 3, 4. Okay. Once you are done with that, you then go on to the next step. And this is where people lose it often. And so I say, well, Steve, I could offer you something, but to be honest, and this is true in the marketing realm, this is no cap at all. So I say, I need to kind of know your marketing budget to understand that we could do this from, I give a range because I don't like having these conversations and I don't like being in these for myself when I'm in a sales convo. I want to know how much this costs. And so I'll say, Steve, this could be anywhere from, as an example, $10,000 a month all the way down to 3. And then this is where the floodgates open. Steve offers up information because I provoked him in a way that he's not usually used to. And I know you're probably wondering, well, why did you start with the top number to the lower number? Well, I've done my homework. It's reverse psychology. It lets the person actually anchor on the lower number, which is typically a good way to start negotiations, right? 10,000 might be totally fine with them, but usually maybe it's not. And so 3,000 might also be out of range. And so you're going to get 2 answers. Steve is going to say, okay, I could probably do 3,000 usually. Or they'll be like, yeah, I could do about like somewhere on, usually people start low, right? Or they say, I can't afford that, Gabby. And then you follow up and say, okay, well, tell me what you can afford, which seems really kind and generous. And then the person tells you like, well, we could do maybe 1,500 a month or 2,500 a month or whatever. And then you in your mind can say, I could take that on or I couldn't. And then you can say, okay, I could do 2,500 a month. Here's what I can do. And then you start talking about what you can actually deliver, right? And then at the end of the conversation, usually when it comes to marketing sales, either the person needs to talk to their team and they'll tell you like, okay, that's great. I need to take it back to the team or whatever. Hopefully the decision maker is on the call, or they don't really say anything. It comes to this pause. And then you ask, well, hey, Steve, like this has been a great conversation. How soon are you looking to get started? And then Steve kind of tells you. And then, okay. And then the next question is, what's the barrier, if any? Are there any barriers to you getting started? If it feels a little like wishy-washy, that question of like, when are you ready to get started? Are there any barriers to you getting started? And then he kind of shows his cards a little bit more. And you say, okay, well, listen, since you're ready to get started in 30 days, here's what we're going to do. We're going to schedule a follow-up meeting. Let's schedule a follow-up meeting. Pull up your calendar. Let's put on the calendar for 2 weeks from now. Or if you're getting started next week, okay, great. I'm going to send you an agreement and we're going to get started. And here's all the next steps. And that's usually the formula I use to lead a sales call. Guys, this took me 3 or 4 years to figure out. Like I was doing my homework. I listened to Chris Do. He's a great salesman. You should look him up. He's wonderful. Chris Do. There's another guy, Jeremy Miner. He's really wonderful too. Those are phenomenal salesmen. They run bigger companies than just selling. I mean, Jeremy Miner's, his company is about selling. But Chris Do is like an agency owner and like he has a whole community. He does way more than that, but they've been in the game long enough to understand like the ebbs and flows of conversations and how they work and how people should approach sales. Because usually when you're the business owner, you are the best closer your business will ever see. So you should do that. You should focus on that work until you find someone that is just as good, or you can raise them up to be better. So that is what I would focus on when it comes to selling, getting that formula down. Even if you have it written down, I've got it in my head now, but I used to write it down like, okay, this question, just points so that you can flow in the conversation. It doesn't feel awkward. And that flow helps your lead and potential customer feel really comfortable. and ready to go to the next step. And a lot of the questions I mentioned today are like natural progressions. They feel like natural progressions in the conversation. I do believe that sales is just like dating. The energy you bring to it, the intentionality you bring to it really gives you the outcome that you are putting the energy in to get. And so if you bring that, hey, this is going to work out for me, God's got my back kind of energy into the dating realm and the sales realm, it'll work out for you and people will sense that energy. But if you bring in desperation, it's like repellent on both ends. So make sure when you're doing your sales, you do that. And if you'd like me to look at your marketing and actually diagnose it on camera, on office hours, now we're never mean. We only diagnose and give strategy and give someone their next key to get to the next level. Let me know. There's a form in the description of the video on YouTube and in the show notes if you're on the podcast. Make sure you fill it out and we will actually bring in the marketing that you're asking us to. So whether that's like maybe an email that you've written, which probably would be a little bit more than that, or like a workflow or your website if you want it diagnosed, or your SEO plan, whatever. If you want to just figure out what's going to work to get your website found, get leads, or your social media, whatever, make sure you fill that out. It's completely free. So make sure that we can pull you onto office hours. You can get some strategy for free. And of course, it'll be like a class example so that we can all learn from your marketing and where you're going. So with that, I'm Gabby Starnes. Thank you so much for being a part of office hours and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.